A film that struggled at the box office and never won the Academy Award for Best Picture has somehow become one of the most cherished cinematic achievements of all time. The Shawshank Redemption wasn't an instant hit. It grew slowly, carried forward by cable television, VHS rentals, and the passionate recommendations of those who felt moved by its story. Over the years, it has risen to near-mythic status, a film that people watch not just once, but over and over again, discovering new details with every viewing. Yet, for all its popularity, most fans still don't realize how many secrets lie beneath the surface. The cast and crew have revealed insights and behind-the-scenes moments that completely transform how we understand Andy Dufresne's emotional journey. These aren't trivia tidbits. They're profound revelations about character development, symbolic choices, unexpected production challenges, and emotional truths that shaped the final film. Once you learn the truth behind these decisions, you may never see The Shawshank Redemption the same way again. The film's very existence is something of a miracle. Frank Darabont first approached Stephen King about adapting his novella Rita Hayworth and Shawshank Redemption into a feature film. King was hesitant, not because he doubted Darabont's ability, but because he wasn't sure such an introspective story could translate visually. Then came the twist. King sold Darabont the rights for just $1. He called this his Dollar Baby program, a way to give fledgling filmmakers the opportunity to adapt his shorter works without being burdened by cost or studio pressure. Tim Robbins later explained that this symbolic gesture gave the production breathing room. There were no executives hovering over every scene, no overwhelming studio expectations. Morgan Freeman would later describe the project as almost an afterthought in the eyes of Hollywood. That relaxed experimental atmosphere gave Darabont an unusual degree of creative freedom that allowed him to make a movie unlike anything else being produced at the time. One of the key elements that gave the film its unparalleled authenticity was the decision to shoot inside the Ohio State Reformatory in Mansfield. This enormous Gothic prison had been closed only 4 years earlier due to its brutal conditions. Walking into that building left an immediate, almost physical impression on the cast. Clancy Brown, who played the imposing Captain Hadley, recalled the sensation vividly. The weight of decades of suffering pressed into the walls. You didn't have to act like you were in a prison. You could feel it, smell it, hear it in the echoes of your own footsteps. Tim Robbins often retreated into one of the actual cells between takes, sitting alone in the tight, claustrophobic space. The moment the door clanged shut, he said, something primal seized his mind, an unspoken panic that informed every aspect of Andy's quiet, internalized performance. The realism didn't end with the structure itself. Many of the background extras were real former inmates who had once served time in that very prison. Their faces, movements, and silent observations brought a raw authenticity that no acting workshop could replicate. Frank Darabont even asked the crew to alter the appearance of the walls depending on the decade in which each scene occurred. In earlier scenes, the walls appear cleaner and brighter, slowly darkening as the years slip by, a detail so subtle that most viewers never consciously notice it. Yet it deepens the film's immersive sense of time passing. For the actors, this dedication to realism had profound effects. Morgan Freeman once said that his portrayal of Red was shaped by the knowledge that the character wasn't just any prisoner. He was a man who had survived decades in that specific, soul-crushing place. Freeman built an entire backstory for Red that went beyond the film's brief explanation of his incarceration. In Freeman's mind, Red had once been a numbers man in the late 1930s or early 1940s, someone who wielded real influence and respect in his community. He wasn't just a smuggler inside Shawshank. He had been a fixer his entire life. That history gave Red a quiet authority and explained why he understood Andy almost immediately, recognizing another man who had once stood in a position of power and lost. everything. Tim Robbins took a very different but equally meticulous approach to crafting Andy Dufresne. He created two Andys. The external Andy that the prison sees polite, restrained, almost emotionless, and the private Andy, revealed only in intimate moments. These were the rare scenes where Andy let himself breathe, plan, hope, or simply exist without the suffocating gaze of guards and inmates. Robbins allowed his physicality to shift subtly between the two versions. In public, Andy's movement felt tight, economical, almost rigid. In private moments, such as when he operates the record player and plays opera over the loudspeakers, his body softens and becomes more expressive. Most viewers sense the difference without consciously detecting it. Yet this duality is central to Andy's survival. James Whitmore, who played the gentle and heartbreaking Brooks Hadelin, carried a deeply personal connection into his performance. He revealed that he based Brooks partly on his own father, who struggled with depression late in life after the death of Whitmore's mother. The poignant moment in which Brooks feeds the birds was not in the original script. Whitmore suggested it because it reminded him of his father's quiet wanderings in the park, small acts of tenderness, rooted in profound loneliness. That single addition helped transform Brooks from a background character, into one of the film's emotional anchors. Beyond the characters, the film is layered with visual and symbolic details that most viewers overlook. Robbins revealed that Darabont frequently framed Andy through bars or grid-like structures, even when he wasn't in his cell. A staircase railing, a fence, a metal window frame. Andy is almost always visually enclosed. This subtle visual motif symbolizes the deeper imprisonments Andy carries, the trauma of being falsely accused, the weight of his lost life, and the secret he hides inside the walls of his cell. Another symbolic layer appears in the rooftop scene, where the prisoners tar the roof under the blazing sun. Fans often remember the men drinking beer as a moment of freedom. But Morgan Freeman noted that this scene marks a much deeper turning point. It's the moment Andy first helps the guards with financial advice, laying the foundation for the fake identity he will eventually use to escape. While others see generosity, Red Sea strategy, Andy is already laying bricks in the invisible tunnel of his future escape. Even the film's most iconic line, "Get busy living or get busy dying," carries far more weight than most casual viewers realize. Clancy Brown once shared that Darabont wrote the quote on the production office wall as a kind of mission statement. Every character's choices, every turning point in the story, had to reflect that central thematic struggle. When Andy plays the opera record, he's choosing life. When Brooks carves his name into the wood before taking his own life, he's choosing despair. Red's eventual decision to defy his fear, violate his parole, and head to Mexico is the moment he finally chooses hope. The famous posters that hang in Andy's cell represent more than a clever way to hide the tunnel. According to Robbins, each poster symbolizes a phase of Andy's inner transformation. Rita Hayworth represents innocence and classic Hollywood glamour, idealized past. Marilyn Monroe reflects a more complicated era, one marked by desire, disillusionment, and shifting identity. Finally, Raquel Welch in 1,000,000 Years B.C. symbolizes something primal and raw, a stripping down of the self to its most essential core. Darabont added that the posters become progressively less clothed, symbolizing Andy shedding the layers of his old identity before his rebirth into freedom. Weather plays an equally important symbolic role. Morgan Freeman once pointed out that rain appears during moments of violence, danger, or despair. The sisters' attack, Tommy's murder, the warden's suicide. Andy's escape, however, takes place during a thunderstorm, a chaotic natural upheaval mirroring his desperation and determination. When Red finally reaches Andy on the beach in Mexico, the sun shines brightly, one of the only truly sunny scenes in the entire film. The contrast is deliberate. Shawshank is cold, gray, and oppressive, while freedom is warm and radiant. Perhaps The most surprising revelation involves one of the film's most emotionally powerful scenes: the moment Red boards the bus and decides to follow Andy to Mexico. Morgan Freeman revealed that this scene was never in the original script. The studio wanted a more ambiguous ending and pushed to remove the reunion scene on the beach entirely. Darabont fought hard to include it, but the compromise came in the form of Red's choice on the bus. This added moment shifted Red's arc from passive narration to active transformation. Without it, Red's emotional journey would have remained unfinished. With it, he becomes Andy's equal in hope. Equally crucial was the decision to expand the character of Brooks. In Stephen King's novella, Brooks appears only briefly. Darabont saw more potential and expanded his storyline dramatically, recognizing that Brooks represented the devastating reality of institutionalization, the loss of identity and purpose after decades in captivity. Brooks's tragedy becomes the looming shadow over Red, shaping his fear of life beyond the walls. Together, these revelations show that The Shawshank Redemption is not simply a prison drama. It is a carefully constructed meditation on hope, despair, identity, and human resilience. Every choice, from the framing of a shot to the casting of an extra, carries meaning. And with each layer revealed, the film becomes richer, more profound, and even more deeply human, once you understand the true craftsmanship behind it. The Shawshank Redemption is no longer just a movie you watch. It becomes a movie you experience with new depth, new emotion, and a new understanding every time. Brooks's storyline established the emotional stakes for Red's eventual release and created a heartbreaking contrast to Andy's unwavering hope. Without Brooks, the ending of the film would lose much of its emotional power, because we wouldn't fully grasp how extraordinary it is that Red chooses a different path. Director Frank Darabont later revealed that studio executives wanted to remove the Brooks sequence entirely, arguing that it slowed the main narrative. "I had to fight for Brooks," Darabont said. "Without showing what happens to him, Red's final journey means nothing." Brooks chose fear. Red chooses hope. Without one, the other has no meaning. This perspective makes Brooks's haunting carving, "Brooks was here," even more powerful. When Red later adds, "So was Red before setting out for Mexico," he's not simply leaving a message, he's consciously rejecting Brooks's fate and writing a new ending for himself. Bob Gunton, who portrayed the corrupt Warden Norton, later revealed that the character was partially inspired by a real prison official from the 1950s who was eventually convicted of forcing inmates to perform renovation work on his private home. "Frank gave me newspaper clippings about this warden from the Midwest," Gunton explained. "The man presented himself as a moral, upstanding Christian while treating prisoners like personal servants and embezzling funds. The hypocrisy was staggering." This real-life influence shaped many of the character's defining traits. His self-righteous Bible quotations contrasted with his cruelty. His fixation on reputation paired with deep moral corruption. Knowing this background casts the warden's suicide in a new light. When the police arrive, it's not just prison. He fears it's the shattering of his carefully crafted image as a righteous man. Gunton noted that this detail adds historical authenticity to a character who might otherwise seem exaggerated. The abusive Bible-quoting warden wasn't a Hollywood invention. He came directly from America's penal history. Many viewers assume that the redemption in the film's title refers solely to Andy's escape and vindication. But the cast has shared a more layered interpretation. Tim Robbins explained that the title reflects not only Andy's personal redemption, but also the redemption of humanity within a place designed to destroy it. Andy redeems the other prisoners by giving them hope and purpose, Robbins said. He redeems the library, the rooftop, even the walls of his cell through his carvings. He makes Shawshank better, even as he's planning to leave it. This reading transforms the story from a simple prison break into a meditation on dignity. resilience, and the preservation of humanity in dehumanizing conditions. Morgan Freeman added that Red's redemption comes when he finally speaks honestly to the parole board. His declaration that he no longer cares about their judgment is the moment he frees himself from decades of self-deception. This multifaceted understanding of redemption explains why the film has resonated so profoundly. It isn't just about escaping a prison, about escaping the prisons created by fear, regret, and hopelessness. One of the most surprising revelations from the film's production is that Shawshank's iconic beach reunion almost didn't exist. Studio executives wanted the film to end with Red on the bus heading toward Mexico, arguing that showing the reunion was unnecessary and that the movie was already too long. Darabont fought fiercely to keep the final scene. They thought ending with Red on the bus full of hope was enough, he said. But the film isn't about hope as an idea, it's about hope fulfilled. Without seeing Andy and Red together, the audience would be left with the same uncertainty Red carries through the film. Tim Robbins added that the beach scene was actually the first thing filmed. Darabont wanted the slight awkwardness of two friends reuniting after years apart, a feeling Robbins and Freeman naturally brought before spending months developing their on-screen chemistry. This subtle restraint gives the moment its authenticity, warm yet understated. Looking back, it seems unthinkable that the scene was nearly cut, as it perfectly completes the emotional journey. As Morgan Freeman put it, without that reunion, the film would become a story about hope as a possibility rather than a reality, and that would be far less powerful. Thomas Newman's score for the film is almost as revered as the story itself. Yet few people realize how intentionally the music was crafted to mirror the character's emotional evolution. According to Robbins, the early prison scenes feature cold, mechanical tones, reflecting Andy's bleak reality. As the narrative progresses, the score gradually becomes warmer and more hopeful. This shift happens so subtly that viewers often feel the change without consciously noticing it. The music does what Andy does, Robbins said. It smuggles hope into Shawshank one note at a time. One of the most poignant musical moments accompanies the Brooks Was Here sequence, where the tender melancholic composition reflects Brooks's confusion and fear in a world that no longer feels like home. The music isn't manipulative, it simply echoes his loneliness. Although Newman's score was nominated for an Academy Award, it lost to Hans Zimmer's work for The Lion King. Many film scholars still consider this a major oversight, as Newman's composition has endured as one of cinema's most emotionally resonant scores. Despite its current status as a beloved classic, The Shawshank Redemption performed poorly at the box office, especially when overshadowed by Pulp Fiction and Forrest Gump. It earned only around $16 million against a $25 million budget, a disappointing return by Hollywood standards. Morgan Freeman explained what happened afterward. The film found a second life on cable TV and VHS. TNT kept airing it, and something remarkable happened, he said. People didn't just watch it, they watched it every time it came on. It became comfort food for the soul, through repeated televised viewings and word of mouth. Shawshank transformed from a commercial disappointment into a cultural phenomenon. Tim Robbins noted the poetic justice in this slow-burning success. A film about patience and long-term perseverance needed time to be fully appreciated. Like Andy tunneling through his cell wall for decades, Shawshank gradually tunneled into the culture, one viewing at a time. By 2019, it had spent years at or near the top of IMDb's greatest films list, surpassing legendary titles such as The Godfather and Citizen Kane. What began as a box office failure became a permanent part of American cinematic heritage. The Ohio State Reformatory, where Shawshank was filmed, has undergone an extraordinary transformation from abandoned, deteriorating prison to a major tourist destination attracting over 100,000 visitors a year. It's remarkable that a place once known for its brutality is now preserved. Because of a film about the triumph of the human spirit, Robbins observed. Visitors can explore Andy's cell, walk the same corridors where the story unfolded, and even view the constructed tunnel used for the escape sequence. Mansfield, Ohio, has embraced the film's legacy, establishing a Shawshank Trail featuring locations used in production. The resulting tourism has revitalized a region that once struggled economically in an unexpected way. The prison itself has experienced a kind of redemption, converted from a symbol of suffering into a site that celebrates hope, storytelling, and human resilience as the film approaches its 30th anniversary. Many people wonder why Shawshank continues to resonate when other acclaimed films have faded. Morgan Freeman offered perhaps the clearest answer. Shawshank speaks to the universal feeling of being trapped by circumstances, mistakes, or regrets, and offers the possibility that with patience and hope, escape is possible. Robbins added that the film never preaches. It simply shows the difficulty and necessity of hope. That's why Red's line about hope being a dangerous thing remains so powerful. The film understands hope as both salvation and risk. This honesty elevates Shawshank beyond simple, inspirational storytelling. It acknowledges human complexity while affirming our capacity for renewal, Darabont summarized. The film's enduring impact with profound simplicity. Shawshank is about what cannot be taken from us: our humanity, our friendships, and our ability to find meaning even in darkness. As long as people feel constrained by the struggles of life, this story will continue to matter. Like Andy Dufresne, the film's greatness wasn't immediately visible. It revealed itself slowly, patiently, one viewer at a time. Shawshank reminds us why we love cinema at its best. It doesn't just entertain. It reflects our deepest fears and highest aspirations. Through the insights shared by its cast and crew, we can appreciate the extraordinary craftsmanship behind every moment, from the real prison to the meticulously crafted character arcs, from the subtle scoring to the symbolic imagery. Yet the film never feels engineered. It feels discovered, as though the story always existed and Darabont simply revealed it. Perhaps that sense of truth, cloaked in fiction, is why Shawshank has maintained its power for decades. As Andy tells Red, hope is a good thing, maybe the best of things, and no good thing ever dies. So watch the film again with fresh eyes. Look for the visual motifs, listen for the evolving music. Notice how Brooks's story shapes Red's destiny, and share this masterpiece with someone experiencing it for the first time. And remember, in the words that have inspired millions, get busy living or get busy dying.